Hello, this video is going to talk a little bit about Zoom, some of the features, some of the setup, and some potential troubleshooting things that you may have experienced today on the first day of school. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that the Zoom app is pinned on your taskbar. And you don't have to do this, but it just makes it a little easier that come, the morning before school, you can just go to your taskbar and open up the app from there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And you're going to see this kind of small screen compared to what we used back in the spring. Those of you that use Zoom in the spring, we were using it through the browser, and it was much more in-depth, much more robust. But for the purpose of what we're doing for our live streaming right now, this is just fine. There is a previous video that Kalita made back in the spring that we have posted in the virtual classroom that goes through a lot of there's about 50 or so settings in the browser version that you can set and will then correspond over to your app. And you can check that video out if you want to go to the browser settings and change some of those features at a later time. But the first thing I want to address is that today, on the first day of school, there were some teachers that had trouble because students were going to your Zoom link that you posted on Schoology, but they were getting an error message or they weren't going in. And that was probably caused because you want to make sure that this checkbox in this drop-down underneath the new meeting icon, you want to make sure that this use personal meeting ID PMI, you want to make sure that that is checked before you go into your meeting. And that will provide a URL that you can give to all of your students that they can use throughout the course of the whole year, no matter what class it is. That's the simplest way to go about it, rather than creating new meetings every time. Because what happens is, if you just go in here and you click on new meeting, it's creating a brand new web address for it that your students don't have on Schoology. So I would advise doing that, and then what you can do is you can go to the link that you posted on Schoology and make sure it lines up with the link, this particular link for your personal ID. And I'll show you how to do that here in a second. There is some options down here that you can copy invitation and so on and so forth. I would also advise to make sure that you have your video started when you join. It's just one less click once you get inside. Now, for the purposes of this video, because I'm not interested in you guys seeing me on this video, I'm going to actually turn that off before I start my new meeting. So then you click on new meeting and go into the meeting itself. And again, you don't see my camera because I turned the camera off, but if you see the screen when you're logging in, you can just click on Start Video down here and you'll be able to access it. Now, in order to get your link, wouldn't be so concerned about the invite link here. I would go right to this icon in the upper left-hand corner, and you can actually copy the URL right from here. So you click on Copy URL, you'll see that it's green. That means it's copied to clipboard. Now I can take that link and go to my email or go to my Schoology page, and I can paste it right in there for students to see. And if you need some help with being able to take a link and put it into your Schoology, certainly reach out to Amy or Kalita and we'll be happy to help you with that. So once you have your link, the correct link posted on your Schoology, and you're logging in to your personal Zoom meeting in the morning, you're going to see a screen that looks like this, except for it'll be your camera for your room. Now, I would suggest that if you are going to not share your screen for that particular class, if you're just going to have the camera on and you're not going to share your screen, you're going to be talking to the kids, giving directions, you're going to be up front, maybe you're going to use your whiteboard, I would suggest that you bring up this participants menu right here on the right hand side. And what you're going to see in that participants menu is all of the people who are in the Zoom currently. Now, I'm the only person in the Zoom right now, but I am going to join with my iPad so you guys can see what the waiting room looks like as well. So right here will pop up the waiting room where it says one person is waiting, and you can see that I am waiting to be admitted from my iPad. Now I'm not going to admit myself yet because I want to show you another way to track the waiting room once we share the screen. But you can just click on admit. You can go down through the list and make sure that the student is actually a student that's supposed to be in your class at that particular time and admit them. If it's not a student that's supposed to be in your class, you can either just leave them there or you can remove them and it will take them away. Now, if you're not going to share your screen, well, actually, let me point out one more thing here about the waiting room. If you would like to hear a bell ding when a new student is ready to enter the waiting room, you can turn on that feature right down here. It's play, enter, exit chime. Okay, I have mine on. Some Some teachers might prefer to not have that on because you don't want that distraction in the middle of class. If a student joins late, you're welcome to do it either way. I have mine on because I think that I want to make sure that I don't miss an opportunity if a student is joining late. I'd rather have them be in my class for 30 minutes than no minutes if they're late. So that's why I have mine turned on here. But you can do that however you would like to. So once you want to show a PowerPoint or a video or something like that, you're going to use the share screen option. So you click on share screen and it's going to give you a number of different options up here. One of them that you may want to use, especially maybe for math teachers, will be this whiteboard option where you'll be able to actually use a stylus and write on your screen and the kids at home will be able to see that. But for this video, I'm just going to select this Google slide that I showed my kids today in class and I'm going to share that. Now, I would encourage you to pause the video and take 2 minutes and see if you can do this. We in 9th grade had our kids look at this collage of 24 historic Americans and see how many they could name. So go ahead and pause the video, take 2 minutes, see how many of these you can name without any helps yourself. Well, if you took the 2 minutes and you're back now, I want to show you 2 more things before we close out this video. Once you're in share mode, it's a lot more difficult for you to be able to see the chat and also to be able to see the waiting room. So here are 2 tips that might help you. Once you're in this area, you can click on participants and it's going to bring up this little box that is going to show you who's in the waiting room and it's going to show you who's actually in the meeting. So I would suggest bringing that up, and if you're sharing your screen in the front of the room, you take this little box and you slide it off of your screen using the extend feature onto one of your other screens. Okay, so you're going to slide it off of your screen onto another screen. You can't see my other screen right now, but I can see the waiting room that still has my iPad waiting in it to be admitted. The second thing is monitoring the chat. The chat can also be accessed when you're in screen sharing mode from underneath the 3 dots that say more, and then right underneath that, the first option is chat. It'll bring up a little box just like the waiting room, and you can take that and slide it off your screen and be able to monitor the chat that way. One other possibility for monitoring the chat that might be helpful is once you get to know your students a little bit and you can establish who are some helpful students that may be able to handle paying attention to class and also monitoring the chat for you, you can have a student in your class log into the Zoom in your in-house class. They can log into the Zoom. They just need to make sure that they mute their volume on their laptop and their microphone. Otherwise, you're going to get some wicked feedback in your classroom through the speaker. So if they mute their volume and they mute their microphone, they can actually be in the Zoom and they can kind of be monitoring the chat. If a student asks a question, they can just raise their hand and say, so-and-so has a question about this. And then at that point, you can answer the question and your microphone will obviously send that answer home to all of the students that are at home. So hopefully this helps with some of the things that came up on day 1 that were a bit of a struggle with Zoom. As always, please let us know if you have questions. Take 3s are going to be on Wednesdays this year, and we're hoping to start next Wednesday, the first Take 3. We are probably going to, this coming Wednesday, offer a kind of a tech sign up where for the hour over the wellness period in the middle of the day, you can sign up for a 10-minute slot and one of the 3 of us can come to your room and help you with any tech issues that you have. So look for that to come out at some point on Tuesday. So again, any questions you have, please let one of us know.